I never thought I'd spend my 68th Thanksgiving watching my son's wife throw a $1,200 phone at my face. But there I was, blood trickling down my temple, while she screamed into her camera that I had attacked her. My name is Margaret Chen, though most people call me Maggie. I spent 40 years as a forensic accountant, the kind of person who could find a missing penny in $1 million budget. I'd worked with the FBI, tracked down embezzlers, and testified in more fraud cases than I could count. But none of that prepared me for Brittany Morrison. Brittany, or Brit, as she insisted everyone call her, was what they call an influencer. 500,000 followers watched her post about her perfect life every single day. Perfect makeup, perfect outfits, perfect lies. She'd been married to my son Marcus for 3 years, and for 3 years, I'd watched my gentle, conflict-avoiding boy slowly disappear into her shadow. The trouble started 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Brit had announced, not asked, that they'd be hosting Thanksgiving at my house. "It's more aesthetic, Maggie," she'd said, walking through my living room with her phone out, already filming. "My apartment is too modern. Your place has that cozy grandma vibe my followers love." Grandma vibe. As if my home was a set piece for her content. "Of course," I'd said. "Because that's what you do when you love your son. You smile. You accommodate. You hope things will get better." Marcus had stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, saying nothing. That's what he always did. My software engineer son, brilliant with code, helpless with conflict. "Mom, it'll be fun," he'd said later, after Brit had left to get her nails done. "She's really excited about it." "What about what you're excited about, Marcus?" He'd looked at me with those tired eyes. "I just want everyone to be happy, Mom." That was the problem. My son wanted everyone happy except himself. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and clear. I'd been up since 5, preparing the turkey, making my grandmother's stuffing recipe, baking pies. The house smelled like butter and herbs and cinnamon, like every Thanksgiving of my life. Brit showed up at 9 with a ring light and a tripod. "Oh my God, Maggie, you're already cooking?" She positioned her phone on the counter, filming me at the stove. "Look at this, guys. My amazing mother-in-law is basically our personal chef today. #blessed. #family goals." I forced a smile for her camera. Behind her, Marcus carried in boxes of decorations, expensive fall arrangements that looked nothing like my style. "Brit, honey, maybe we should help Mom cook?" Marcus suggested quietly. "Baby, I'm working. This is content." She didn't even look up from her phone screen. "Besides, Maggie loves cooking. Don't you, Maggie?" "I do," I said carefully. "But this is your Thanksgiving too. You're welcome to join me." "Oh, I will. I'll supervise." She laughed, that bright influencer laugh that never reached her eyes. "Make sure everything looks good for the photos." The guests arrived at 2. My sister Jean and her husband Tom, Marcus's college roommate David, and his wife. Brit's photographer friend Ashley, who apparently was there to capture content rather than celebrate. I'd set the table with my good china, the set Richard and I had received as a wedding gift 43 years ago. Every plate, every glass held a memory. Brit immediately started rearranging everything. "The aesthetic is off," she muttered, moving my carefully folded napkins. "Ashley, get the ring light over here. The shadows are terrible." "Brit," Marcus said softly, "maybe we should just let Mom's table be." "Marcus, honey, you don't understand lighting. Trust me." He went key it again. Always key it. Dinner started smoothly enough. Everyone complimented the food. Brit made sure to film herself taking dainty bites, narrating for her followers about traditional family recipes and quality time with loved ones. Then I brought out the wine. It was a 2001 Bordeaux, one of the last bottles from Richard's collection. My late husband had been passionate about wine, and before he died 5 years ago, he'd made me promise to share his favorites on special occasions. This Thanksgiving, with family gathered, felt right. "This is very special," I said as I opened the bottle carefully. "My husband Richard saved this for years. I'd like everyone to have a glass to toast with." I poured for Jean, for Tom, for David and his wife. When I got to Brit, I filled her glass with the same amount as everyone else. She stared at her glass, then at the bottle. That's it? I'm sharing it with everyone, I said. It's Richard's way of being here with us. But there's like half a bottle left. She pointed at it. I want more. This is really good. Britt. There's other wine in the kitchen. I want this wine. Her voice had gone sharp. The expensive wine. That's why you brought it out, right? To show off? Marcus touched her arm. Britt. Come on. It's special to Mom. Oh, please. She shook off his hand. She brings out the good stuff, and then rations it like we're peasants? This is ridiculous. I felt the table go silent. Jean's eyes met mine. Concerned. Brittany, I said calmly, using her full name. This bottle cost $400. Richard bought it for our 30th anniversary. I'm happy to open another bottle from the kitchen for you. $400? She laughed, loud and mocking. And you can't spare a glass for your daughter-in-law? Wow. Just wow. Britt. That's not fair, Marcus started. You know what your problem is, Maggie? Britt stood up, her chair scraping harsh against the floor. You think because this is your house, you get to control everything. Who drinks what? How we set the table? What we post on social media? Well, guess what? Servants don't get to make the rules. The word hung in the air like poison. Servants. Excuse me? I said quietly. You heard me. You're acting like the help, so I'm treating you like the help. Now pour me more wine. I stood up slowly, the bottle still in my hand. 40 years of depositions, of cross-examinations, of staring down criminals across conference tables, had taught me how to stay calm. Brittany, I think you should sit down and apologize. Apologize? She grabbed her phone from the table. I'm not apologizing for anything. You're the one being. I don't know what she was going to say next, because that's when she threw her phone. It happened so fast. One moment the phone was in her hand, the next it was spinning through the air, straight at my face. I tried to turn, but it caught me on the right temple, just above my ear. The sound it made, that crack, echoed through the dining room. I felt the impact before the pain. Then came the warm trickle of blood running down the side of my face. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Britt started screaming. Oh my God. She tried to grab my phone. Did you all see that? She lunged at me. She attacked me. She was backing away, hands up like she was the victim. I was just defending myself. Ashley. Tell them. You saw her. Ashley, the photographer, looked terrified. I didn't see. She attacked me. Britt was crying now. Real tears. Pulling out her backup phone. I need to document this. I need to show everyone. Enough, I said. My voice came out steady, despite the blood. Everyone stay where you are. I walked calmly to my purse and pulled out my phone. Marcus was frozen in his chair, white as the napkins Britt had rearranged. Jean had moved to my side, pressing a napkin to my head. Mom, Marcus finally said, his voice cracking. Mom, maybe we should just what, Marcus? I looked at my son. Just let this go? Just pretend your wife didn't assault me? It was an accident, Britt wailed. I was protecting myself. Maggie, tell them it was an accident. I dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? My daughter-in-law just threw her phone at my head during Thanksgiving dinner. I'm bleeding, and I'd like to press charges for assault. Britt's face went from red to white. What? No. Maggie. You can't. Ma'am. Are you in immediate danger? No. The situation is controlled. But I'd like officers to come document this assault. Mom. Marcus stood up. Mom, come on. Think about Britt's career. Her followers. This will ruin everything. I looked at my son, my gentle, brilliant, scared son, and felt my heart break. Marcus, she hit me with her phone. There's blood running down my face. And you're worried about her followers? I didn't mean. He ran his hands through his hair. Can't we just talk about this? Work it out as a family? Mrs. Chen, the dispatcher said. Officers are on their way. Stay on the line with me. Britt was filming herself now, tears streaming down her face. This is insane, you guys. My mother-in-law is literally calling the cops on me for an accident. This is elder abuse in reverse. This is discrimination against young women. Ma'am, I said to the dispatcher, I should mention that I have security cameras throughout my home. The entire incident is recorded. Britt's phone dropped from her hand. What? She whispered. I had them installed last year after a break-in on our street. They're in every room, including the dining room. Everything you just did is on video. I watched the calculation happen behind her eyes. The lies she'd been preparing crumbled. She looked at Marcus, desperate. Baby, you can't let her do this. Tell her to stop. Tell her we'll leave right now, and never come back. You should have thought of that before you called me a servant, I said. The police arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers, 1 male, 1 female, both professional and calm. They separated us, took statements. When Britt tried to claim self-defense, I showed them the security footage on my laptop. The video was clear, showed Britt standing up, yelling, grabbing her phone, and throwing it directly at my face. Showed me trying to turn away. Showed the impact and the blood. Showed Marcus sitting there, doing absolutely nothing. The female officer watched it twice. Ma'am, do you want to press charges? Yes, I said. I do. Mom, no. Marcus grabbed my arm. Please. Please don't do this. She's my wife. Think about what this will do to us. I am thinking about it, Marcus. I said softly. I'm thinking that if I don't press charges, she'll never face consequences. And neither will you. They arrested Britt in my dining room, turkey still on the table, my late husband's wine still in the bottle. She screamed the whole way, about lawsuits, about her lawyer, about how I'd regret this. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching them put her in the squad car. When he turned to look at me, his face was a mixture of anger and confusion, and something that might have been relief. I need to go with her, he said. I need to bail her out. I know, I said. I can't believe you did this. I know that too. He left without another word. Jean and Tom helped me clean up, their presence a comfort I desperately needed. Ashley had vanished the moment the police arrived. David and his wife had stayed, concerned and supportive, until the officers finished their report. You did the right thing, Jean said as we washed dishes. That girl is toxic. She's also my son's wife, I said. And I might have just destroyed my relationship with him, or saved him, Tom said quietly. Maggie, we've all watched it. Marcus isn't happy. He hasn't been happy in years. I went to bed that night, with a bandage on my temple, and a weight on my heart. I'd testified against mobsters, white-collar criminals, people who'd stolen millions, but turning in my own daughter-in-law felt worse than all of them combined. I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m, I got up and went to my office. Old habits die hard. When I can't sleep, I work. I opened my laptop and started looking through files, preparing documentation for the restraining order hearing that would happen in a few days. I needed bank statements, proof of residence, all the usual paperwork. That's when I noticed something odd. Marcus's credit card statement was in the shared folder he'd given me access to years ago, back when I helped him set up his first budget. He'd never revoked my access. I hadn't looked at it in years, respected his privacy. But now, with everything happening, I pulled it up. Just to check. Just to make sure everything was okay. The balance was $68,000. I stared at the screen. Marcus made good money as a senior software engineer. He should have been saving, not drowning in debt. I opened his bank statements. His savings account, which had $200,000 in it 2 years ago, now had $3,000. My forensic accountant instincts kicked in hard. I started pulling records, following the digital trail I'd spent 4 decades learning to track. Credit cards opened in Marcus's name. 8 of them. All maxed out. Business loans Marcus had co-signed for. $50,000 to Morrison Media Consulting LLC. Transfers. Hundreds of them. Small amounts, $200 here, $500 there, always to accounts in Brittany's name. I worked until dawn, building a spreadsheet, documenting everything. By the time the sun came up, I had a complete picture. Brittany had stolen $350,000 from my son. She'd done it slowly, Carefully. Over 3 years. A new credit card here. A small transfer there. She'd used his credit to fund her influencer lifestyle, her designer clothes, her professional photography, her ring lights and cameras, and all the equipment she needed to maintain the illusion of success. And Marcus, my gentle, conflict-avoiding son, had either not noticed or not wanted to see. I called an old colleague at the FBI, a woman I'd worked with on fraud cases for years. Linda, I need a favor. Off the record. Just advice. Maggie? It's 6 a.m. Are you okay? I sent her the files. Tell me if I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. She called back 20 minutes later. Jesus, Maggie. This is textbook financial fraud. Identity theft, unauthorized use of credit, falsification of documents. Who's the victim? My son. Silence. Then, carefully. Does he know? I don't think so. Or if he does, he's been denying it. You need to show him. And you need to report this. Maggie, this isn't just debt. This is criminal. I sat at my desk, looking at the numbers. $350,000. Almost everything Marcus had saved. His entire financial future. Stolen by the woman who was supposed to love him. Marcus called at 10 that morning. Mom, we need to talk. Yes, I said. We do. Come over. Bring your laptop. I'm not bringing Britt. She's at a friend's place, crying her eyes out. Good. This conversation is just for you. He arrived an hour later, looking like he hadn't slept. The shadows under his eyes were dark, his hair uncombed. He'd been wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Mom, you have to drop the charges, he said before he even sat down. Please. Her whole career is imploding. Someone posted the arrest on Twitter, and it's gone viral. She's losing sponsors. Her followers are turning on her. You're destroying her life. Sit down, Marcus, I said calmly. I need to show you something. Mom, I don't want to see. Marcus, sit down. Something in my voice made him listen. He sat at the dining room table, right where Britt had thrown her phone 16 hours ago. There was still a small blood stain on the tablecloth. I opened my laptop and turned it to face him. When was the last time you checked your credit card statements? He blinked. What? Mom, that's not. Just answer the question. I don't know. A few months? Britt handles most of the finances. She's better at that stuff than I am. Marcus, you have $68,000 in credit card debt. He stared at the screen. That can't be right. We use the cards for her business expenses, but she pays them off. She doesn't pay them off. Look, I pulled up the payment history. Minimum payments. Every month. For 3 years. I watched him process it. Watched his face go from confusion to disbelief, to something darker. Okay. But we can work on that. We can make a payment plan. Marcus. I pulled up the next file. You had $200,000 in savings 2 years ago. You now have $3,000. His hands started shaking. She's opened 8 credit cards in your name. She's taken out business loans with your signature. She's transferred over $300,000 from your accounts to hers. Marcus, your wife has been committing fraud. Against you. He pushed back from the table, stood up, started pacing. No, that's not. She wouldn't. I have the documentation. Bank statements, credit reports, transfer records. Marcus, I spent 40 years finding financial fraud. This is fraud. But she loves me. His voice cracked. She's building her business. She's investing in our future. I opened another file. Morrison Media Consulting LLC. The company she made you co-sign loans for. Marcus, it's not a real business. It's a shell company. The money goes in and comes right back out to her personal accounts. Stop. He covered his face with his hands. Just stop. I closed the laptop. I know this is hard. Hard? He looked up at me, and I saw tears. Mom, you're telling me my wife has been robbing me for 3 years. You're telling me everything we've built is a lie. How is that just hard? Because it's the truth. And the truth is always hard. He sat back down, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. For a long time, He said nothing. I waited. That's what you do in interrogations. You wait. You let the silence do the work. Finally, quietly, I knew something was wrong. I knew. The credit cards kept appearing. She always had an explanation. It's for equipment, baby. It's a business investment. Trust me. And I wanted to trust her. Because if I didn't trust her, then what did that say about me? It says you're human, I said gently. It says you wanted to believe the best in someone you love. I'm such an idiot. He wiped his eyes. All those times you tried to talk to me about her. All those times Jean or David said something seemed off. I defended her. I chose her over everyone. You chose what you thought was right. I chose comfort over courage. He looked at me, and I saw my son clearly for the first time in years. Not the boy trying to please everyone. The man facing an ugly truth. Mom, what do I do? You press charges, I said. You report the fraud. You get your credit frozen and start the process of recovery. She'll go to jail. She committed crimes, Marcus. Multiple crimes. Against you. He was quiet again. Then, what about us? You and me? What about us? I didn't defend you yesterday. When she threw that phone, I just sat there. I told you to think about her career instead of your safety. I chose her over my own mother. His voice broke. How do you even look at me right now? I moved to sit beside him. Took his hand. Because you're my son. And because you're here now. You're seeing the truth now. That's what matters. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not today. But we'll work on that. First, we need to deal with Brittany. He nodded slowly. Okay. Show me everything. I want to see all of it. We spent the next 3 hours going through every document, every transaction, every lie. I watched Marcus's face cycle through emotions, denial, anger, grief, acceptance. He called his bank, called the credit bureaus, started the process of reporting the fraud. At one point, his phone buzzed. A text from Britt. Baby, where are you? We need to talk. Your mom is poisoning you against me. Don't listen to her lies. I love you. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he blocked her number. She's violated the restraining order twice today, I said, checking my security cameras. She drove by the house this morning and parked across the street for 20 minutes. And she tried to come to the door an hour ago, but left when she saw your car. She's desperate, Marcus said quietly. The video of her arrest has 3 million views. Her sponsors dropped her. Her followers are calling her a violent abuser. Her perfect life is falling apart. She built that perfect life on stolen money and lies. I said. This is just reality. Catching up. That evening, Britt violated the restraining order for the 3rd time. She showed up at my door, pounding, screaming to be let in. Marcus! Marcus, I know you're in there. Don't let her turn you against me. I called the police. Marcus stood in the living room, listening to her scream, tears running down his face. I loved her, he said. I really loved her. I know. How did I not see this? Because you didn't want to. And because she was very good at hiding it. The police arrived and arrested her again. This time, they took her to county lockup. No bail. Flight risk, they said. Multiple restraining order violations. The preliminary hearing happened 2 weeks later. Marcus and I sat on one side of the courtroom. Brittany sat on the other, her public defender looking overwhelmed. The prosecutor laid out the assault charge first, played the security video. The judge watched it 3 times. Britt's lawyer tried to argue self-defense, but the video was too clear. Then came the fraud charges. The prosecutor brought in a financial expert who walked through every transaction, every forged signature, every stolen dollar. Marcus had to testify, had to admit on record that he'd never authorized the credit cards, never approved the transfers, never agreed to the business loans. Britt kept trying to catch his eye, mouthing I'm sorry and I love you. He looked straight ahead, jaw tight. Her lawyer tried to claim it was a misunderstanding, that married couples often have complicated finances, that this was a civil matter, not criminal. The prosecutor showed the shell company, showed the fake business filings, showed the systematic, deliberate pattern of theft. The judge denied bail again. Set a trial date. Outside the courthouse, Marcus sat on a bench and just breathed. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm proud of you, I said. She looked so small in there, so scared. She should be scared. She committed serious crimes. I know, He shook his head. I keep thinking about the person I thought she was. The woman I fell in love with. Was any of that real? I don't know, honey. Maybe some of it was. People are complicated. Not that complicated. You're either someone who steals from the person who loves you, or you're not. The trial happened 3 months later. By then, the district attorney had uncovered even more. Britt had done this before, to 2 previous boyfriends. Smaller amounts, but the same pattern. Get close, gain trust, steal systematically, disappear before anyone notices. Marcus was victim number 3. Except this time, she'd married him, and his mother was a forensic accountant. The trial lasted 4 days. Witness after witness testified. Bank records, credit reports, text messages where Britt had pressured Marcus to co-sign loans, more security footage from my cameras, showing her going through his wallet, his laptop, his financial documents. On the 3rd day, Britt took the stand. Her lawyer had advised against it, but she insisted. I never meant to hurt anyone, she said, crying. I was building a business. I was trying to create something. Marcus knew about all of it. He supported my dreams. The prosecutor pulled up a text message from 2 years ago. Britt to Marcus. Please don't check the credit card statements this month. I'm handling it. Trust me. Another message. Your mom is trying to turn you against me. She's always hated me. Don't listen to her. Another. If you really loved me, you'd support my career without questioning every expense. By the time the prosecutor finished, Britt's testimony had destroyed any sympathy she might have had. I had to testify too. About the assault, yes, but also about my professional background, about how I'd found the fraud, about teaching Marcus to check his credit report, freeze his accounts, report the theft. Britt's lawyer tried to make me look like an interfering mother-in-law, someone who'd never accepted his client, who'd been looking for any excuse to break them up. Mrs. Chen, isn't it true that you never approved of my client? I didn't approve of how she treated my son, I said calmly. That's not the same thing. You've been working against their marriage from the beginning. I've been watching my son lose himself for 3 years. That's different from working against someone. But you didn't like her. I liked her fine, until she started stealing from my child. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, came back with guilty verdicts on all counts. Assault, fraud, identity theft, theft by deception. Sentencing happened 2 weeks later. The judge gave Britt 18 months in prison, followed by 5 years of probation. $350,000 in restitution to Marcus, though we all knew he'd never see most of it. Her influencer accounts were banned from major platforms for terms of service violations related to her criminal activity. Marcus and I stood on the courthouse steps afterward, watching the news crews pack up. It's over, he said. This part is, I said. Now comes the harder part. What's that? Healing. Forgiving yourself. Learning to trust again. He looked at me. I'm not good at that. Then we'll learn together. He started therapy the next week. Individual sessions to work through the trauma, the manipulation, the financial abuse. He moved back into my house, temporarily, while he sorted out his credit and his finances. We had dinner together every night. Talked. Really talked. For the first time in years. I've been thinking, he said one evening, about 2 months after the trial, about why I stayed with her for so long. Why I defended her, even when I knew something was wrong. What did you come up with? I was afraid of being alone. Dad died when I was 28. That really messed me up. And then Britt came along, and she was so alive. So confident. I thought if I held on tight enough, I'd become more like her. Instead, I just became less like me. You're not less than anything, Marcus. I was, though. I let her steal from me. I let her hit you. I chose comfort over courage, just like I said. But I'm done with that now. What does that mean? He smiled. And I saw my son's real smile for the first time in years. It means I'm going to therapy. I'm rebuilding my credit. I'm learning to be okay with conflict. And I'm going to stand up for the people I love, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. 6 months after the trial, Marcus moved into his own apartment. Not far from me, just a 10-minute drive. Close enough to visit but far enough to build his own life. He started dating someone new, a teacher he met at a coffee shop. She was kind, genuine, and had no social media presence whatsoever. I like her, I said when he brought her to Sunday dinner. She's good people. She is, Marcus agreed. And she thinks I am too. That's new. Britt served 14 months of her sentence and was released on good behavior. Last I heard, she was working in a call center in Arizona, her influencer days long behind her. Her social media accounts had been resurrected briefly, where she posted about learning from mistakes and toxic family systems. But nobody was buying it anymore. I still have the scar on my right temple. A thin white line, barely visible unless you know to look for it. But I see it every morning in the mirror, and I remember. I remember the sound of her phone hitting my face. The blood. My son's frozen expression. The moment I decided that enough was enough. Sometimes people ask me if I regret pressing charges, if I wish I'd just let it go to preserve family peace. I tell them no. Peace without truth isn't peace. It's just silence. And I'd spent enough of my life being quiet, letting things slide, hoping problems would solve themselves. That Thanksgiving, bleeding in my own dining room, I decided I was done with that. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 68 years old. I spent 40 years tracking down criminals, and I never expected one of them to marry my son. But when she did, I didn't hesitate. Because some things are worth fighting for. Your dignity, your safety, your family. And if that means Thanksgiving dinner ends with handcuffs instead of pumpkin pie, so be it. At least everyone learned an important lesson that day. It's never too late to stand up for yourself. Not even at 68. Not even on Thanksgiving. Not even when the person you're standing up to is family. Justice doesn't have an age limit. Neither does courage. And that's something worth being thankful for.